The story I'm going to tell you today is called Spiritual Power. Siza was 12 years old. Her sudden disappearance from the apartment was beyond anyone's comprehension. Being a very close friend of Mr. Akram, I used all my strength. Anyway, I tried my best to bring Siza back home, but it seemed to me that Siza might have been lifted in the sky or thrown into the ground. Siza's mother, Mrs. Akram's condition became deplorable with tears because the sudden disappearance of the only child in this way was very difficult to bear for any parents. Siza was a very polite girl. The last time she was seen playing with other children was in the apartment of the building. According to the other children, Siza said she would come back after drinking water because she got a lot of thirst, but she did not go to her apartment and she did not come back to play. I watched CCTV footage of the whole area more than 10 times. The whole city I searched for, but still I could not find Siza. It had been almost a year since Siza disappeared, and so we all gave up. But one day, suddenly the whole building became noisy, and there was only one voice coming from all around: Siza is back. Whenever I heard this, I went to Akram's apartment to find out everything. When I went to their apartment, I could not believe my eyes. I saw Akram and his wife hugging their daughter and crying, and all the people in this building have crowded into their apartment. But the most surprising thing is that Siza kept saying, "Why are you all crying? And why are you all in front of our apartment?" Then the neighbors congratulated them and went to their own apartment. I was also preparing to return. Then Mr. Akram invited me for dinner. I gladly accepted their invitation. However, I could not digest the strange kind of talk of Siza. When I reached Mr. Akram's apartment at night, I saw that the husband and wife were having some trouble. Mr. Akram took me to a room and locked the door. He wants to tell me something secret. Mr. Akram told me Siza came back in the same clothes she wore on the day she was lost, and the most surprising thing is that Siza came back home at the time 1 year ago when she wanted to come to the apartment to drink water from her friends. I asked Mr. Akram, "Did Siza ask anything?" Mr. Akram replied, "She only said, 'Mother, give me water, I'm very thirsty.'" I was shocked to hear this. I kept thinking, how is it possible? Exactly 1 year later, the story started from where it stopped. I was guessing something suspicious. I said to Mr. Akram, "I want to talk to Siza." Mr. Akram was afraid, thinking that I would make Siza afraid of asking questions. However, I put my hand on Mr. Akram's shoulder and reassured him I will not ask any question that will frighten Siza. Then the two of them left the room and I asked Siza, "So, uncle, how is the day going?" Siza said, "Uncle, things are going very well. You know, today I won the first place in the school race and I lost everyone." I looked at Mr. Akram, so he nodded in such a way that it looked like exactly a year ago on this very day she became first in the school race. Then I turned around and asked Siza a lot of questions, but she answered all the questions correctly. Then suddenly an idea came to my mind. I stood up and said, "Brother Akram, Siza is a very naughty girl. She never cuts her hair and she never cuts her fingernails." Then Siza immediately said, "No, Shoaib uncle, I never do that. Look, my fingernails and toenails are beautifully cut. Mama cut my nails last Friday." We were all amazed to find that even after 1 year, Siza's hair was still tied up as it had been before, and her nails were as clean as ever. I did not understand anything, and I was amazed at how these things were possible. I told Mr. Akram, "Don't let Siza leave the house alone because she may go missing again." The next day, I told everything to my senior, Jamal Khan. He also thought for 2 minutes, but he was very intelligent. He advised me to get Siza's DNA and all the other necessary tests done to make sure that it was Siza or someone else, and if it was Siza, then her brain was okay or not. I like this idea of Mr. Jamal very much, and so I immediately called Mr. and Mrs. Akram to come to the hospital. I myself was in the hospital with them so that I could see everything with my own eyes. All the necessary tests are done for Siza. When I was in the hospital, I got a call for another case. I just say that once I find this murderer, Zunaid, I can reach him. Whenever I said that, Siza ate the juice and said, "Uncle, what's the matter? Junaid is at the flat nong 234, Street 34 of PCHS. Hearing this, Mr. and Mrs. Akram and I started laughing. I said to her, "Wow, Siza, you should be a cop like me." I took Siza's words as a joke, but after arriving at the police station, I thought I should go to the place once in a while for the comfort of my heart. I took the team with me to the address mentioned by Siza. I knocked on the door for a long time, but no one opened it. Finally, I kicked and broke the door. Then I saw Junaid attacking us from the front, but we were outnumbered. We arrested Junaid and wounded him. One of us was seriously injured. We took Junaid to the police station and asked for the real address of the killer. We also arrested him. When I returned home at night for the first time in my life, I was terrified. I was going crazy thinking, how is this possible? How did Siza know about Junaid? Why did Siza go for a year? Despite being a police inspector, I spent the whole night in fear. The next day, we received all the medical reports of Siza. Surprisingly, no change was noticed in Siza's medical reports. I tell all this openly to my senior Mr. Jamal. He too was terrified when he heard all this. There were 3 to 4 cases after this in which it was not possible to unravel the mystery, telling the number of a bond, giving accurate information about the location of a person, or specifying a subject. All this, what Siza was saying. Akram has consulted with too many elderly people, but no one could answer about Siza. When he told Siza about everything, she did not believe it. How could we believe her? Because we had no evidence to convince her. Siza does not remember exactly what happened to Siza in those 1 year. Mashallah, Siza is now about 18 years old. Till this day, I did not know where Siza was for 1 year. But the way Siza removes the veil of mystery from the difficult cases, I suspect she must have had some spiritual power. I don't know whether she was close to any spiritual power for 1 year or not. I don't know or how she got so much knowledge. We could not understand the secret behind it. There is any spiritual power in Siza. That is why Siza can say all of this. Till today, no mystery of this story has been uncovered.